Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. So some time ago, maybe perhaps a few months ago, I did my review of Superstition number 13 by the 13th Floor Fragrance Company. I'm going to leave a link to that review up here. This time around, we have their brand new release. This one just came out. It's called Spellbinder. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Spellbinder by the 13th Floor Fragrance Company, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews just like this, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, please be sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon. And so the creative director behind this company is Steve T. Shippey. He is known for his rap name, which is Prozac. He's also a host on the Travel Channel. I'm gonna leave all of that information down below if you are interested in learning more about Steve Shippey. And here we have the second fragrance release from this company. This one just came out this year, 2021. The perfumer for this is Sarah McCartney. You might be familiar with some of her other work. She actually has her own brand called 4160 Tuesdays London. And here we have a fragrance that has tonka bean, Madagascar vanilla, leather, violet, cashmere, if I'm remembering correctly, some spices, cardamom, nutmeg, some floral ingredients. It's a very complex fragrance, a touch of incense in there as well. And so I'm really excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, let you know how it evolves and progresses on my skin. Also, if I can compare it to any other fragrances as well. But let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So right as soon as you spray this fragrance on, you are going to be greeted by this sweet tonka bean and vanilla combination. It's a little spicy at the same time too, which I'm really enjoying. So you have that burst of vanilla in the opening, vanilla from Madagascar. It's very sweet, it's warm, it's delectable. It definitely veers in gourmand territory, but you also have this rhubarb note in the opening, which is kind of adding its own peculiar and quirky sweetness as well. And I think it's complementing the sweetness of the vanilla and the tonka bean quite nicely. You also have like this citrusy thing happening in the opening, and you know, that is a trademark or a DNA that Sarah McCartney does very well, in my opinion. You know, she always seems to combine some very bright, lively, and organic smelling citrus with that sweet, creamy, decadent vanilla thing that's happening in the base. And I think that that's probably the only similarity that this fragrance has to the first creation from this company. As the fragrance starts to dry down, you kind of have like this leathery violet that's in here, which is really interesting. And I know there's cardamom, there are some other spices in here. For me, I get the cardamom stronger than anything else. So it's kind of like this spicy, leathery thing that starts to come out, but it shares the stage with the vanilla quite nicely. And so you're going to get this smooth, slightly smoky, because there is an incensey component in here, but it's not about the smoke at all. So even if you're not a fan of smoky fragrances, you're still going to enjoy this one because it doesn't go too strongly in that direction at all. So you're gonna get this spicy cardamom violet leather thing happening in here. I know there's a hint of nutmeg in this. I don't get it too strongly. I know there's ylang ylang in this fragrance. I don't get that too strongly either, because for me, ylang ylang has a bit of a tropical vibe to it, and I'm not getting too many tropical nuances from this fragrance, but you give it a chance to dry down. And let me say this, the leather that's used in here is very smooth. It's very creamy. It gives off a luxurious feel, but it's not all about the leather. Just because you do have these, you know, sweet nuances that sort of cover everything up, but at the same time, they share the stage very politely and very nicely with one another. And I'm hoping that that's coming through, because I don't want anybody to think that it ever goes in one solitary direction. It doesn't. You know, this is a spellbinding composition. It's quite enigmatic and it's quite complex and interesting at the same time. It's one of those fragrances where you smell it and every few minutes or so, you pick up on a different nuance. And the more you read into the note breakdown, the more you have these aha moments where the light bulb goes on in your head and you're like, oh yeah, there is a little bit of that in here as well. And so I do think that certainly some elements of the fragrance come across a little bit more articulately than others. I think that there are some elements that are a bit more profound than others, but that's because some of the ingredients are unquestionably and inevitably used as accent notes to sort of enhance, you know, the presence of the others. And so I think that this is a really nice, dark, yet inviting fragrance. You have the vanilla that invites you in, and then you have a touch of that smoke and the leather that's in here. And, you know, you have the violet and the cardamom that are really contributing to that leather accord quite nicely, if you will. I'm really enjoying this one. This is such an easygoing fragrance, and just like the initial creation, this one lasts a very long time because there are a lot of ingredients in this fragrance that are quite base heavy. And so if you're looking for something that is quite ephemeral and volatile in the 3 or 4 hour realm of longevity, that's not what you're gonna get from this one. And this is something that can be said about a lot of Sarah McCartney's fragrances. If not all of them, they seem to last for a very long time just because you have a lot of these weighty ingredients residing in the base of the pyramid. And so a fantastic job, Steve and Sarah. Very proud of you guys. Very happy to have this fragrance in my collection. I think Spellbinder is an awesome release. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, this is a unique fragrance because it utilizes a lot of ingredients in a combination that I haven't necessarily witnessed before. However, if you are familiar with the work of Sarah McCartney, I think you might sense a little bit of an overlap with some of her other creations because that's the case with a lot of perfumers. They have their own DNA that is interwoven into the fabric of the fragrance. And so you might pick up that it's a Sarah McCartney creation, but I personally think it's a very nice, very enveloping, very warm, and very inviting fragrance on account of the tonka bean and the vanilla that's in here, but it also has that aura of mysteriousness on account of the leather and the incense. It's really a complex and unique fragrance. In terms of the longevity, you can expect 10 hours on your skin. You are going to get the leather and the vanilla mostly after about like the 5th or 6th hour of application. Projection is beyond an arm's length for the first 2 to 2.5 hours. It doesn't actually start to sit close to the skin until about that 7.5 to 8 hour mark. And right at that 10 hour mark, it's gone. And so it does last for a very long time. The longevity and the performance on this fragrance is really spectacular. I actually sprayed about 3 or 4 fragrances while I was sitting on my couch in front of my coffee table. And this is the one that was like drowning out everything else. And so the performance on this one and the presence of this one is really strong. In terms of versatility, I can see somebody wanting to wear this one when it's a little bit colder outside, just because it has a lot of those warmer tones, but it also has enough of that citrus in the opening that I think you can pull this off on like a cool summer evening, no problem. I think this one can be worn casually because of the price tag. I think it can be worn formally just because of the complexity of the DNA. It's a perfectly unisex creation, and I can see somebody who's a little bit younger enjoying this one because of the sweetness, but I can also see somebody who's a little bit older enjoying this one because of that spicy leather accord. In terms of the presentation, I like the holographic look on the bottle. I love the graphic on the box, and the whole presentation is really nice. And now that I have 2 from this company, I'm gonna proudly display them side by side. So my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are in the market for a natural smelling, slightly sweet fragrance, if you're familiar with the work of Sarah McCartney, you're a fan of vanilla, you don't mind some natural smelling citrus compounded with that vanilla, and you're also looking for a fragrance that has an aura of mysteriousness and an enigmatic quality about it, I would definitely recommend that you try Spellbinder by the 13th Floor Fragrance Company. I'm very happy to have this one in my collection, and so thank you, Steve, and thank you, Sarah, for this creation. I really appreciate your contribution to the fragrance industry. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Spellbinder. If you own or have tried any fragrance by this company or by Sarah McCartney for that matter, please let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos. And of course, that includes reviews just like this, but also top 10s, giveaways, unboxings, and more. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. Thanks again for watching. Love you all. We'll see you soon. Bye.